Live from Sunnyvale here at DevOps Days 2012. I'm here with Michael Cote. How are you today, Cote?
I'm great.
Cool. So you gave one of the lightning talks. I think you actually batted cleanup, right? You were the last of them, and I think you did pretty well. So what was your thesis? What were you talking about?
Well, I did a talk that I called, I don't know if this is tasteless or not, but it was called Reintegration. And it was basically, there's basically a cycle in technology. I think one of the cycles is things are either integrated or they're modular. And integrated means it's sort of like one unified product, whether it's a server or a client device, as we would say in Dell land or whatever. But it's kind of the same vendor sources all of it, versus modular where, the extreme example is like what I used to do. When I wanted a new computer, I would go buy all the parts at the store. They were like from separate things, and I would assemble it on my own and put an operating system on it. So it's basically assemble from parts on the one extreme end and like welded shut box on the other. And so my talk was just about how when I was a programmer some time ago, or learning when I was a younger feller, as they say, like everything was very modular. Like that was the dominant mindset, is that you want things at some point open and modular got conflated into the same thing. And so you would want everything to be open and switchable, and you never have one vendor, and you just want it to be very modular.
And are you talking the two when you get to things like ObjectOriented Database, which was all the rage about 20 years ago, and that kind of stuff? Or are you just talking about at the layer of aggregating piece parts to create a solution as opposed
to... more of the second is that you would at your hardware layer and also at your application layer, you would pull together a bunch of parts to make a solution or a product or whatever, versus like one of the examples I used in the talk was that you have platform as a service nowadays where you have a lot less choice as a developer or an architect on the pieces of middleware that you're going to use. Like part of when you use a PaaS, part of what you're giving up is being able to choose those various software components and libraries and middleware. Like those choices are made for you, but there's a certain efficiency and other stuff that comes from it. And similarly, there's this thing called converged infrastructure, like Cisco's UCS box, and we at Dell have like a vStart thing and a Viz box, and it's sort of like this pre-assembled, pre-integrated box of stuff. And so you don't get to like pick the piece parts, it just comes pre-integrated for you. And mainframes are another example of that, right? There's features that you have in a mainframe, but it's basically like one unit pre-integrated together. And to use a non-technological example, basically cars are integrated devices, right? Like you don't think like I'm gonna get like the dashboard from over here, and I'm gonna get some seats from over here, and then I'm gonna assemble it all together. You just buy the thing already pre-assembled with each other. And there's even phrases like aftermarket that indicate that you're being modular and whatnot. And so the point of the talk was that when I was a young programming fellow, like integrated or closed or whatever was very bad. Like it was considered terrible to have something that was integrated. You wanted a very open system, right? And so it's a bit troubling if you have that mindset that things are seem to be going more integrated. Like the iPad and Apple devices are very integrated devices. Our own Sputnik thing is an integrated device, right? It's a purpose-fit thing that only really works together. And but I think that it's not so much that things are like a cycle where it regresses. It's more like an evolution of things. And as I finally use smart art for good in the PowerPoint presentation I put
rather
together.
than evil.
That's right, as I usually do. And really, it's sort of like things are a little less open than the completely modular world, but lots of open source software drives all of this integrated stuff, and there's lots of open APIs. Those are the two little data points that I had. And there's also a lot of just culture of openness around things. Like Facebook, I contrasted Facebook and Flickr. I think those are two good examples of, Flickr's kind of cheating here, but the combination of blogs in the old days and your own web page and Flickr is a very modular approach, right? So the way that you catalog yourself and share your life with your friends, you would do it through a blog and upload your photos to Flickr, and you got all these different services. And then you would effectively have a mashup, if you remember that would pull this all together into one thing. And so Facebook came along, and they were just like, what do you like to say, Barton? Bag that noise?
Yeah.
And they just had a completely integrated approach to doing all of that, right? And people will call it a walled garden and all sorts of things like that, or AOL 2.0, like things like that. But at the end of the day, I think it's pretty successful, and like people use the crap out of it. And that was the thing I was saying is that, you know, when I was blogging and flickering or whatever, like I was always trying to get my friends. I mean, I actually got enough attention to stroke my ego back then, but I always wanted my friends who weren't tech people to do the same. Like I wanted to be involved. I wanted them to broadcast their life out, to have like social stuff, and they would just never do it, like because it was just too hard. But nowadays in Flickr, like I'm the lame guy. Like I am not in Flickr and Facebook. Like I don't really use Facebook properly, but like all of my non-nerd friends do. Like they're constantly in there broadcasting and like what I wanted a while ago in the modular days. But I think it's because it's an integrated system, and so the point is, it's not really as bad as like everything's closed up in a walled garden because it's built on open technologies. And really, it seems like we're in an integrated phase of things. So if you're thinking about a product to build, whether it's hardware-based, software-based, or both, or whatever, it's probably A-okay to take more of an integrated rather than a modular approach.
Excellent. Michael Cote, thank you.
So long.